Thank you so much, and good morning. Hard to match up after Dhara, the kind of energy she built, right? It was wonderful. But I'm here today, very excited to see the turnout. Feels like COVID is another era, so feels good that we are back. My topic is something that is very dear to my heart, right? It is about coaching future leaders. This was the topic given to me, and I'm going to walk around, move around, so that we can interact much more. Let me know if you can't hear me or you have any questions, right? So either way, put up your hand. Let's make it as interactive as possible. I have a few slides. You know, what are consultants without slides? So I have that here with me. But let's speak a little more and interact. May I request you to put up the slides, please? Okay. As the pages come up, right, as the slides come up, I have one question for you. And this question came up, I was last week in Orissa, and the managing director of a very, very big, one of India's leading steel manufacturing companies was there. And he said something that touched my heart. He said, one of my largest priorities is X. Right? And I'm going to ask you the question, what do you think he said? One of my largest priorities is X. What do you think he said? Anyone? Just a guess. Sorry, someone? Next gen leaders. Lovely, right? And someone said well-being. So he actually said, one of my biggest priorities is to build leaders at every single level, right? You'd often think that MDs, CEOs would say that, you know, I want to grow my business by this much. The EBITDA should be 20%. I want to be the market leader. But he said this, and it touched my heart, and it got me thinking one question, right? And I'd love for you to think about this question. I see a lot of students here, and I see a lot of people from corporates as well. So I'm just going to ask a show of hands. How many students here? How lovely. Very nice to see all of you. A show of hand, how many people from the corporates? Lovely, right? And this is specifically for the corporate leaders sitting here, right? And students, please see what they have to say. Because a lot of times we have a different perception of what corporates might be speaking or might be thinking. So my question to the corporate leaders here is, imagine it's your last day, okay? Imagine, and now there's no age, right? It's not like at 60 you need to superannuate or retire. So, and sir here is shaking his head saying, yes, yes, absolutely. So imagine it's your last day. You know, wherever you've worked, you've created impact. What do you want to be remembered by? Okay, so this is to the corporates here, corporate leaders here. Anyone wants to, a show of hand, anyone wants to tell me, what do you want to be remembered as or remembered for? Anyone? As a good human being. So, sir here says, as a good human being.
So I would say that it's legacy, but it also depends on individual values. So for example, somebody could also be thinking of, you know, what is the leadership or talent pipeline that I leave in the context of organizations? It can vary.
Lovely. I love all of that, right? What you said, a legacy, leaving a talent pipeline. Any other answers?
I would like to leave a legacy of compassion and kindness. I think the world is lacking this, so that we don't have any more wars. Everybody lives, and everybody lets live. That's my credo in life. Thank you.
That's deep. Thank you, ma'am. So, compassion and kindness, that's what you want to be known for. That's what you want to be remembered for, right? That's the legacy you're creating. Any other thoughts, please? A teacher, right?
Difference I made to people's lives.
Difference she made to people's lives. That's what she wants to be remembered for. Anyone else here? Yes, please.
Towards my dedication to the work.
Lovely, towards my dedication to the world. And did you notice something? Yes, sir, please.
I want to be remembered for the people whom I have helped in growing up. Those who are my subordinates, they have grown beyond me. That is what I like.
So building more subordinates, and that's a common theme, right? And did you hear a common theme? And this is for all the students out there, right? All our future leaders out there. Did you hear a common theme being said? Anything that you heard? Any common theme? Anyone? From this side, we want to hear a few people from this side. How do you coach? How do you coach? Okay, anyone else? And influence on people, right? No? Yes, please, ma'am.
I would like to be remembered as saying somebody who said something and changed my life for the better all my life.
How powerful. How powerful, right? And did you hear each one of them who said something, talked about impacting someone else? It was not about themselves. It was not about themselves. And a lot of us, while we're growing up, are always thinking, how can I be smarter? How can I get the best in, I want to be first, or I want to be the best in what I do. And it's a lot about ourselves, right? And somehow as you grow, right, what actually gives you happiness is impacting others, is the kindness, compassion, it's the building of the next gen leaders. And that's exactly what we have been learning, that's what research has been showing, and it has direct correlation to performance, right? This is not all for just a feel-good sake, but this is what helps organizations perform. This is what helps organizations grow. And therefore, right, we did research, so if I can request you to go to page 3, if I'm not mistaken. Are you controlling the slides? Yes. Right? As you go up the ladder, yes, delivering business value is important. But with great power comes great responsibility, right? Any of us fans over here, whose dialogue is this? With great power comes great responsibility? I can't hear. Spider-Man. Yes, right? So with great power comes great responsibility, and building talent is that great responsibility. And if we were to go to the next page, please. We did research, right? We went and spoke to multiple CEOs and asked them, what is it that is a priority for you, right? They said people is a priority for us, right? We want to spend a lot of time building talent. We want execution excellence, but we want talent at every level. And therefore, as we looked at within people, what are their priorities, this is what it showed up. So on the left, as you see, right, there is about workforce planning, how many people we need in the organization. There is the acquisition and retention, right? Are we getting the next set of best leaders? And you must have all heard about the great attrition that is happening in organizations right now, right? There is the great resignation or the great attrition. But with that, leadership development and succession planning is the highest priorities that CEOs have quoted. And this is global, not only India. But even as we spoke about this, right, what we did realize is organizations are spending huge amounts of money in development. They are sending people to the best business schools. They are sending people, their leaders, to different academic programs. But they still feel that the leaders that they want, or the leadership development budget that they are spending, they're not getting the returns that is needed, right? So there is still dissatisfaction saying, Yes, we are sending for learning programs. There are LXPs now, so there are learning experience platforms, right? So you can have the micro learnings, on-the-go learnings, but there still seems to be dissatisfaction. And therefore, we went deeper to say, what really therefore unlocks, right? What do you need to build the next gen leaders? And this is what we saw. So if we were to go to the next page. Okay. A poll question. And let's try if we can get to this poll. If we were to go to the next page, just want to see if we can use the poll, right? No. Yes. So the question to you, and for this you have to take out your phone, right? You have to take out your phone. Go to pollev.com. So go to pollev.com. If you have your phones handy, pollev.com/McKinsey A476. Right? You will find the questions here. So you'll find a poll there. Let me know if you're not able to get the poll, right? It's fairly easy to get to that poll. The question to you is, what percentage of Fortune 500 CEOs are happy with their way the organizations develop their future leaders? Right? 4 answers there. Have we started getting the poll? You can show up the answer. So the maximum answer that's coming for us right now, and can I see the number of people who've responded? Is it showing on your screen? We have about 80 to 100 people here, so. It's only 10 people have responded till now. So can we have a few more people responding? Are you able to? Okay, so the room average here shows 15 to 30%. As we did the global research, it was more the first one, which seems to be moving up now, right? So it's only less than 15% of leaders that we interviewed said that they are satisfied with the way they are developing future leaders. So look at the paradox, right? One side, they are saying that is the most important priority. Second side, they are saying that something's not working, right? Something needs to change. And therefore, we went deeper into leaders who've got built, right? Who are these leaders who actually developed in the organizations, what was done differently for them, and what helped them succeed and get to the CXO level. And that's how the programs were crafted. And if we go to the next page, there were 4 differentiating factors. Okay, 4 differentiating factors that we've seen that has helped. And I'd request you to go to the next page. Number 1 is around critical roles, right? In an organization, typically we would think that all the CXO roles, right, would be the most important. We now have enough research to show that it's not only those roles that deliver value, but there are roles in other parts of the organization, and it's actually 2% of the roles that deliver 80% of the value. And therefore, identifying which are those critical roles is the most important. That's number 1. Number 2 is then to say, which are my critical shifts, right? What are those future-focused skills that we need to build? And it is not a list of 20 different skills, right? We all get very ambitious and say, let's build this. I think accountability is very important. I think collaboration is very important. I think big data is very important. So if you ask multiple people, they'll say multiple things are important. But every organization needs to select which are those top skills that you want to focus on and make a shift there. Third is a development plan, and 4th is the talent discussion, and I'll come to that. If I were to go to the first page, right, I just want to quickly show on the critical roles. If we were to go to the next page. what we discovered, right? On the left, typically you would see hierarchy and you would see that these are the top roles. But we have discovered that 70% of your roles could be at that level. 20% are CEO minus threes. And now organizations every 6 months, and even some tech organizations that we have been speaking to every quarter are looking at what are the new roles. It's no more about the old roles that exist, but it is about continuously thinking about what are the new roles that we need, and those new roles help you get the business performance that you need. So next page is what I want to show you, because these are a list of, again, if we were to go to the next slide, please. We did a lot of interaction with global CEOs. There's some stuff on inner agility, but 3-4 skills I wanted to point out, right? For the topmost level, what we've seen is keeping a telescope and a microscope perspective at the same time. So the long-term vision is as important as in certain places getting into the details. So that's something that when we spoke to CEOs, they said that it is important. The second one was around purpose-driven. So we had about compassion, well-being. There is a lot of shift now to say what is the organization purpose, and for the CEOs to craft what is that purpose for their organization. So those were two things that definitely stood out. There is this whole shift in psychological safety. So people coming into the organization, are they feeling safe in that environment? So when we saw why people are leaving organizations, right? Typically, if you ask leaders and see why are people moving organizations, they'll say compensation. They're getting a lot more elsewhere. But again, our research, when we did a comparison to with employees versus employers, we saw that employers are saying it's compensation and benefit, but employees are really saying that we want to be valued, right? We want to have meaning. We want people to invest in me, and that will help me stay. And therefore, developing in that or investing time in that or people development is one future-focused skill, which is very, very important. There's another here on bounded optimism, right? And yes, sir.
I think McKinsey only has done survey a few years back. I read that. The reasons for joining and reasons for leaving are the same, where compensation actually comes in the last. Why people join? For the better role, better career, good working environment, better learning ability, good technology, and people leave only because of this. They could not get the better environment, better career path. Compensation actually came in the last, because other things if taken care, then naturally compensation comes. Yes. Thank you.
And in fact, 3-4 months back, as the Great Resignation became more and more viral across the globe, we continued this survey and we asked people, and we've seen that compensation is hygiene. It's about feeling valued. It's about feeling being invested in that makes people stay. So thank you for that. I wanted to call out bounded optimism, right? Became very, very clear and became even more imperative in the COVID times. And I'd love to see if anyone over here has heard of the Stockdale paradox. Anyone here heard of the Stockdale paradox? So this is a story after a naval officer, right, James Stockdale, from the Vietnam War, and he was in prison for 7 years, right? He was in prison for 7 years. And what he found, right, when he finally came out, he said, and they did enough research to say that people who were overly pessimistic, right, nothing will happen, we are not going to survive, they're going to come and kill us, right, did not survive, okay? And then there were the others who were extremely optimistic. Come Christmas, and they would say, it's Christmas and we are going to get out, right? Come the next season, Easter, and they would say it's Easter and we're going to be released. Did not happen. the disappointment made people lose their lives, right? And the people who actually survived in the prison, and that's a research that they have been doing, it's a longevity research that has also been done, are people who have optimism, but with realism, right? So it's a paradox because you balance between being optimistic, making people see the positives around you, but at the same time, not losing realism. And this is one thing that when we did research in different CEOs and who succeed, the bounded optimism coming from the Stockdale paradox is something that has become a differentiator, right? So having the realism, yet having the optimism to inspire people. So that's that, and then there is the future focus skills. Future focus skills is all that I'm sure a lot of us are learning, right? What is the next data analytics that you need to learn? What is the latest on machine learning? What is the latest on artificial intelligence? So picking up a few future focus skills and going deeper is what is differentiating leaders. Let's go to the next page. And then there are a range of interventions, right? So while classroom learning is one of them and absolutely important, right? There is a whole lot of others which actually deepens the way we learn. And a lot of us would have heard about the 70-20-10 principle, right? It's a very common learning or leadership development principle, which really means that 70% of the learning happens when you actually fold your sleeves and are on the job experiencing something, right? 20% of that learning happens through interactions, happens through exposure when someone else is investing in you. And only 10% of that learning comes from going into classrooms. So organizations more and more are moving. So you see a list of organizations here who have used a varied number of interventions. And just to point out a few, right? Deep feedback, right? There are multiple surveys that exist there, but deep feedback to really show you the mirror to say, do I understand who I am? Do I really understand what are my strengths and what are my opportunities, right? And then moving towards it. Projects or business mandates. So a whole lot of organizations have their strategic priorities that they design at the start of the year. Getting your people to actually invest their time on leading some of these strategic priorities is what organizations are doing towards building future leaders. And there are a few more, which are things like experiential, going on wilderness retreats, and actually doing something out of your comfort zone that also unlocks. So here are a list, and I'm actually going to get you to poll, right? I know for some of us, maybe we've experienced it, and for some of us, we'd love to experience it, right? So either way, in our next page, which is the poll, I'm going to request you to choose which interventions do you think is most impactful. So you can choose 3 in that poll, right? And we'll show you the results of what this room is saying. But pick up any 3 interventions from here. You will actually get 10 interventions when you see it, right? We're not able to see all of them, but you will see 10 on your poll. And let's see what this room has to say, right? Which do you think is most impactful in actually helping you learn, actually unlock behaviors or mindsets? Lovely. We are seeing field visits go up. So go see and learn is another new thing that organizations are doing. For example, just before COVID, right, we took one of the organizations that we were working closely with to the US to actually learn from Silicon Valley startups to see how they develop their talent, right? And speaking to them was a very different experience as opposed to us going and telling that this is what they are doing. So actually seeing, having a tactile experience was what moved these leaders. So the top 3 that we are getting is field visits, go see and learn. So going to other organizations, going to other experiences and seeing what is happening. Business projects, and then the feedback and IDP. Interesting. So these 3 seem to be up there. And for a lot of us here who either, focus on this kind of learning, impart this kind of learning, or are doing this for our organizations, I think this is a good cue for each one of us on what we should be investing on. So thank you for that. And finally, right, I just want to get us to our final page. I can see that, we're a little behind time already. So let's go to the final page. You can close the poll. No, just one before this, right? I just wanted to talk about this. This is one thing that we are seeing organizations. So once you've identified the leaders, you've got programs in for them. A development council. So what is a development council? Today, as in schools, there is a committee which discusses how are the students doing. In the same way, organizations have a set of people who are discussing talent, right? Especially their topmost talent, meeting quarterly to say, what are the next set of roles I could offer to this talent? What are the list of exposures that will help him or her? And what are the opportunities that I can develop? And Development Council is one big shift we are seeing in organizations, and the CEOs themselves are spending time in this quarterly discussion and being a part of the Development Council. So this is one trend that we are seeing in a lot of future-focused organizations, and just wanted to point that out, right? So 4 things, if I were to just say, right, if I were to just summarize, we talked about, number 1, that building the next set of leaders is the legacy people want to leave behind, right? Coaching future leaders is something that everyone wants to invest in. Organizations are very, very aware of it, and they are investing. As we look at different programs, there are 4 differentiating factors. Number 1 is about identifying the most critical roles. Number 2 is choosing a few future-focused skills and going deep in it. Third is tailoring or stitching together a program which is immersive and creates the actual shifts you need. And fourth, and perhaps most important, is just leaving them to it does not help, but actually investing the time, the senior leaders investing their time through a development council, discussing this talent is what builds the next future leaders. So with that, I just wanted to leave you with one poem which is dear to me, right? And I'm just going to read that out to you. Just Beyond Yourself by David White, right? Just beyond yourself, it's where you need to be. Half a step into self-forgetting, and the rest restored by what you'll meet. There is a road always beckoning. When you see the 2 sides of it closing together at that far horizon, and deep in the foundations of your own heart, and at exactly the same time, that's how you know it's the road you have to follow. That's how you know it's where you have to go. That's how you know you have to go. That's how you know. Just beyond yourself, that's where each of us need to be. Thank you so much.